for joining me. I'm here with Mary O'Neill, a certified Healing Touch practitioner and registered nurse. So to start, Mary, could you just tell me a little bit about what Healing Touch is and how it works in practice?
Mm-hmm. So Healing Touch is an energy-based therapeutic approach to healing, using the hands to balance and align the human energy system. So as we take our courses, it's the study of the human energy system, and then we have 35 different techniques that we can apply for specific needs.
Okay. How did you get involved with Healing Touch?
Yeah, 1996, a nurse that I knew brought in the instructor from Tennessee, and she had a class. I missed the first class, but they had 45 students in the class, which is a big class.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
And then I signed up for the second class in November of '96. And then I was the skeptic in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't sure how this was going to work out, if I wanted my license assigned with that. But by the second and third class, and I was sold on it and saw how it could help people.
How long does it take for one person to get, I guess, certified?
Certified. Yeah. On average, about 2.5 to 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
it's 5 levels of classes, and then there's a year of mentorship following level 4. And then the mentor reviews the students' homework and their assignments that they do for that year. And then they bring all of that back to level 5, and it's reviewed by the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get signed off to apply for certification. So it's a year of practicum.
Oh, wow. So within Healing Touch, like, what are some of the most common conditions to where Healing Touch is effective?
Mm-hmm. I think stress and anxiety is what I see most patients for. And then any other physical condition. I currently work in the Cancer Center at Mercy South.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of cancer patients. We have a lot of patients that have other illnesses that cause debilitation and weakness, deconditioning. And so Healing Touch can help boost their energy a little bit, give them a little bit more energy, reduces pain, and it works beautifully on stress and anxiety. It's actually stopped panic attacks.
Really?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's very effective.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess this kind of segue into my next question. Is there a particular time or instance where you really felt that was powerful, in your use of Healing Touch, that you can remember, that sticks out to you?
So I like sharing stories.
Yeah.
that's what people remember when they go home.
Uh-huh.
One of the stories I have that was particularly meaningful and powerful to me was I worked at DePaul Hospital years ago.
Mm-hmm.
A gentleman had been involved in a drug deal. It went bad and he was shot. And he was a victim of violence, so he was in the hospital under a pseudonym, so he could have no visitors.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him on day 3 of him being in the hospital with no other visitors around. And so he'd had a lot of time to process and to think. And he was recovering, and we talked about Healing Touch and talked about his pain levels, those kinds of things, and he agreed to receive. And started the technique, just a basic technique to balance his energy field. And a couple of minutes into it, he just said, "I'm just seeing this bright light." I said, "Are you comfortable with it?" He said, "It's beautiful." I said, "Well, stick with it."
Yeah.
And when we finished the session, I usually close with just a blessing or a prayer, and he had agreed to that. And then I started picking up my things and asked how he was doing. He said fine, and we talked. I told him I'd see him the next day if he wanted. And I started to leave the room, and he stopped me, and he said, "I think you should know what happened here." And he said, "I know the man who shot me, and I had a plan that when I left the hospital I was going to get my gun and go back and shoot him." And he said, "What you did today took the gun out of my hand." Yeah, so I've never forgotten it.
That's a powerful story.
Yeah. So I tell my students when I teach Healing Touch, never underestimate the power of a chakra connection. I'm just doing my routine, and he's having this incredible experience.
Yeah, you've seen multiple people in one go, really.
Yeah.
And then another question, I was just thinking about like the pandemic, like how did that affect Healing Touch? Because I would picture that's primarily like an in-person sort of practice. And how did you kind of adapt to the needs of the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, the pandemic definitely decreased the number of patients that I could see. People wanted to be isolated and didn't want to risk that, and I understood it. And so for years within Healing Touch, outside of the realm of our curriculum, we have done distance work. But we haven't put it in the curriculum because we didn't have the research to back it up. And so as people petitioned the board of directors of Healing Touch, Healing Beyond Borders is our organization, to consider that, they did, and they approved that they would accept so many sessions for our students getting certified. They have to do 100 in that year. And so they would accept 15 that were distant healing. And other experienced practitioners began using distance healing. So it would work very simply in the fact that if you wanted Healing Touch, we would talk over the phone, get a little bit of update, background, find out what your needs were, set some goals, and then you would recline or rest, lay down for an hour, and I would do Healing Touch in my Healing Touch room as if you were there. I simply ask for your energy field to be present for healing, and take a breath, set my intention, and I can assess it as if the field is there. I get a reading on my assessment. So, and then when I finish, close. I always close with a prayer or a blessing, and then I say it out loud that I'm releasing your energy field back to your physical body to continue the healing, and take a breath and send it back.
So it is generally as effective over the phone as in person? Okay. And one more question. No, I'm struggling to remember it. Sorry.
That's all right.
So in terms of like external support, like for Healing Touch, are there any like statistics that would back it up, or is it more of like something that you can visibly see in terms of change?
As far as there is good research, so they've been doing research now for about 20 years, and so when we do our classes, we present some of that research, and we do see visible change in patients that I work with. Sometimes their color improves, their energy helps to increase circulation. Their pain levels, we measure pain levels before and after, measure stress levels before and after. So if a person comes in and their pain is a 7 or an 8, then afterwards I ask them, and typically it goes down to maybe a 2 to 3.
Oh wow, okay.
So they get a significant response to that, and then I teach them how to do things so that they can do that and have that effect, or I teach a family member when they go home. So it's not like a guru walking in doing something and then they're left with no idea how that worked. Yes. Always teaching.
And I guess kind of as my final question, why do you think it's so important to end every session with a prayer, like you said?
It's my own spirituality. It's not within our curriculum for Healing Beyond Borders, but it's within my curriculum.
Okay.
I know that the energy is not mine, and I know that I may have the term of a Healing Touch practitioner or healer, but I'm not the one doing healing. And so I have found it I've found people find it comfortable and comforting to have a prayer involved in it. And I usually ask them that.
Well, I think that's all the questions I have, so thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Enjoyed meeting with you. Yeah.
All right.